What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to WrestleCinema, a podcast following wrestlers who venture into the acting world. I am your host, Joe. It's been a little bit. The last time we had an episode was episode 3 on May 29th, and we went through some of the cameos John Cena has done in his career during the early stages. He did Psych. He did True Jackson VP with Kiki Palmer. He did Hannah Montana. So I talked about that. I did that episode on my own because I really didn't want anyone to have to go through that with me. I'm still figuring out as I do this podcast how I want to do it. I know I want guests, but I just don't want to be a typical podcast reviewing the episode. I also, when I bring guests on that aren't just, my close friends, I want to make sure I provide value for why they're there for anyone listening. Plus, just make it entertaining and make it something that not everyone else is doing. But then again, there are a million podcasts out there, so it's hard to be original. But hey, at least I feel like the idea we're doing here is somewhat original, talking about movies, TV episodes, anything that might have a wrestler involved. As you know, we've been doing this following John Cena's career, his filmography, and we will continue to do it. But I'm going to change it up a bit, especially because as I'm trying to get my footing with this podcast, obviously it's been well over 2 months since I did the last one. I'm trying to make sure I do it in a way that's entertaining for me and anyone listening. So I think I'm going to mix it up a bit. We are still our main course that we're following for this podcast is going to be following John Cena's filmography, but in the middle, as seen fit, I will sprinkle in somebody else, like a See No Evil around Halloween, or a knucklehead with the Big Show. So we'll sprinkle some stuff out, get some guests on here when I can, and we'll see how it goes. But yeah, it's great to be back here. Like I said, it's been 2 months since I've done a podcast. And that's mostly because life, it's really hard when you have day-to-day stuff going on in your real life. You're trying to do stuff with work, social life, all that, just to do something that, is outside of all of it. If I could just make this my full-time job, that would be great one day. And who knows, maybe we will. But hey, everyone starts somewhere. And here we are. So on today's episode, we are going to be talking, and by we, I mean me. It's just me here. Sorry for anyone that was hoping for somebody special, but not yet, but in the works. We're talking about John Cena's movie Legendary. And this is where he's basically a wrestling coach, and Donald Glover is here. Right now, as I'm talking about it, I have yet to watch the movie. When we get to the review, it will be when I have already watched it. And I'll just talk about my thoughts about the movie, anything fun, anything I could find out, the background of like how this movie became a thing and what John Cena thought about it. So we'll get to it. I feel like it's one of the forgotten movies that John Cena did early in his career. Everyone knows about the Marine, 12 rounds, and then of course the things he's doing now like Fast and the Furious, Peacemaker. But no one's talking about Legendary, and no one's going to talk about the next movie we do of John Cena, which is The Reunion. But, if you haven't already, follow us on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, at WrestleCinema. You can always follow me at TheHomieJoeBro on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. That's where I try and do some of my gaming-related content. If you remember when I did Strictly Nonsense, and that was just more of the movie stuff, I still keep that around on social media. So you can follow Strict Nonsense on Instagram and Twitter. And I do have the TikTok and the YouTube. I do try and make YouTube videos for that. I'm still trying to do way too much with so little time. But hey, that's just who I am, and one day things will work out if we just continue to be consistent. As I tell any of my friends that are interested in content creation, as someone who hasn't really gotten there yet, I'd imagine it's mostly because of consistency, but hey, the more you get consistent, the more it happens. I've seen that work for everybody who has actually been consistent. So that's that. What else? Before we get into the episode, I'll tell you some of the things I have been watching as of late. I mean, I'm not going to do any fancy edits on this episode, I don't think. We're just getting it out there. We're just getting back on here. I've learned you don't have to make the fanciest things in the world just as long as you're creating content. But in these last 2 months, I haven't watched many new movies, or at least I'm not checking my letterbox. I haven't really written about many things, but I did see Furiosa. I gave that a nice 4 stars out of 5. Really enjoyed that movie. A tad bit long at times, but I think it was still pretty solid. Another 4 out of 5 movie for me, Bad Boys, Ride or Die. That was really good. I really enjoyed that. Saw it with the boy Finn, the homie Shane. I was definitely buzzed for it, but I don't think being buzzed made that movie better. I think it was still a very fun movie. And if you know what the Bad Boys franchise is, especially after this last one, the third one, Bad Boys for Life, which should have been the name of the fourth movie, you know what you're getting into with this franchise. So going into it, I really enjoyed it. I saw A Quiet Place Day 1. That's the Quiet Place prequel movie. Honestly, not bad. It's one of those movies where obviously all the things happening would never happen in real life. Alien invasion, who knows, maybe not. But the way things are handled, I'm like, I don't know if that makes any sense, even though this whole movie shouldn't make any sense. It's one of those. Saw Longlegs. That movie was marketed as the scariest movie of the year, and it was all right. I mean, if I was maybe a woman, the way with what happens in this movie, I'd be probably petrified. Who knows? But I thought it was a solid movie, especially by Nicolas Cage, who plays the villain. Also on my list, I don't have it on here, but I did see Despicable Me 4. I've seen, actually, within the last 3 weeks, I'd say, I've seen every Despicable Me movie and the Minions. Pretty solid franchise. I see why it's making so much money. Despicable Me 4, though, I did not like, really. I'd give it like a 2.5, a 2. The other movies are pretty strong in the series, not going to lie. I don't know. Something about this one, I just did not care. But another one, a 4 out of 5. Deadpool and Wolverine really lived up to the hype. We still have a lot of questions on what the hell is going on with the MCU, especially post this movie. Didn't really push that many things forward, but we did learn some important things like anchor beings. The Fox universe is technically still alive, so maybe and it's stronger in the way this movie comes out. Spoiler alert, but it's been long enough. So who knows? Maybe they're leading us into an Avengers X-Men movie. I know that's what some people are thinking might happen. So we shall see what goes on. But yeah, that's kind of it for movies. For TV shows, I'm trying to think. I saw The Boys, the last season of Smiling Friends, or the newest season of Smiling Friends. Watched that. A lot of good stuff. So yeah, haven't really watched many new things compared to the last time I did this podcast. So yeah, that's just me rambling about new things I've seen. On top of that, wrestling. I have been tapped in on wrestling, not enough on the weekdays, just because, especially with my new job, I just don't have the time or energy to really be watching wrestling as much, especially during the week. But on the weekends, hey, SummerSlam, I thought that was a pretty solid show. Back in end of June, July, I went to a few shows. I went to Forbidden Door, AEW Forbidden Door. Good show, great matches. My energy was just not there. I was exhausted from some wedding I went to, and then just having to sit through that long show. Tony Khan, please, for the love of God, I get it. These shows, you're about wrestling. You're about the graps. I love it. But you added more shows in the year, which in my head, I'm like, if you added more shows in the year, there should be less matches on the card. That would just be great if that would change. Just give us some less matches so I could breathe more. But I was so tired. The show ended at 12, and I got home around 2, had to be at work at 7:30, 8 o'clock. Just not the greatest feeling to be that sleep deprived for a wrestling show and work. But that Thursday, I think it was Thursday, 4th of July, I went to New Fear City, a deathmatch show. And it's not any other deathmatch show. First off, started off with like strippers, dancers, amazing stuff. Then it jumped into wrestling. And it's no ring. There's no ring. They are wrestling right in front of you, wherever the hell the venue's at, and they're just going at it. So no ring, no seats either. You're just out there. The crowd is standing up the entire time, and the energy is great. So fun. I had more fun at this show than I did at Forbidden Door, mostly because I'm tired, but also I love a small show atmosphere. Big shows. I've never been to a WrestleMania, but I feel like that is a beautiful show to be at. Of course, the way WrestleMania has been as of late, it's been great. But stadium shows, I'm sure, are great. When I go to big shows like an AEW or a WWE, I still enjoy it. But the intimate feeling you get from being at these indie shows, oh my God, especially Deathmatch. Dude, I got cinder block pieces with me from Kobe Carino going against this one guy, their champion there. Incredible show. I'm going again next week. I'm excited. Deathmatch wrestling, I used to think was dirty, but I love it. It is so cool. It's just disgustingly cool. Yeah. What else? I went to HOG about 2 weeks ago, and Swerve went against the Amazing Red. That was awesome. Megan Bayne won the HOG Women's Championship. First time I've ever seen Megan Bayne. One, beautiful. Beautiful. The most PG thing I could say. Beautiful. Two, incredible. Just in ring, she was really great. She looks like a star. I am shocked that WWE haven't snatched her up already, and she's only 26. So only a matter of time. Zilla Fatu, I saw him win his first championship ever. That was really sick. They announced Joe Hendry for the next show, so Finn and I are going to be there September 29th. Looking forward to that. But yeah, wrestling, incredible stuff as of late for live shows that I've been going to. So many. I already got this next HOG show in the books. Signed up for it. New Fear City. Going to try and get some friends to go to that. I don't have my tickets yet for Grand Slam, but that's going to come up too. So many things in the wrestling world, so little time. But hey, I am intrigued. I am ready. So yeah, that is happening. I think that's really all I want to talk about. As time goes on, I'm thinking about adding more spots in here to, talk about other things like wrestling news. I might change the formatting where I don't do weekly wrestling, but a week where I don't want to review a movie per se, or I don't have much to talk about. Maybe I'll just talk about wrestling, what's going on, stuff like that. So yeah, we're going to see what happens there. And I think we're ready to talk about Legendary. Also, sorry if my audio isn't that great. I am in a remote location. I am not home, and I'm using a conference microphone instead of my normal microphone. So it might be a little weird. I'll try my best with the editing. But hey, thanks again for listening, and let's talk about Legendary, John Cena's movie where he's a wrestling coach. Or at least that's what I think. Joe, when he starts talking about it, he's going to know what he's talking about. So be right back. All right, so I just finished watching the 2010 John Cena movie Legendary, and it was okay. I see a lot of reviews are really giving it, negative, like a 10. I mean, out of 10, 2. I want to maybe say a 2, maybe like a 3, 3.5. I mean, it's not the worst movie I've ever seen. So I honestly am okay with it. I think John Cena's performance, he plays a out-of-touch, lost brother to the main character. His name is Cal. This is a family drama kind of movie, sports drama at the same time because it's about mat wrestling, amateur wrestling, and very different from Marine, very different from 12 Rounds. Not much on this movie. Like I said, this is almost like one of John Cena's forgotten movies because people talk about his early days in acting, the Marine, 12 Rounds, but they're not talking about Legendary. No one's talking about it. And think about who's in this movie. Patricia Clarkson is in this movie. And you have Danny Glover. You got two well-known actors, and this movie is still not remotely talked about once when it comes to WWE's films or just John Cena films in general. Uh, but hey, it's nothing to, nothing to write home about, to be honest. It's nice to see John Cena take a more dramatic approach, especially because in the current John Cena acting roles we get, he's just a comedian actor. He doesn't really do anything serious anymore. It's all about the laughs, the giggles. He'll dress up and he'll make songs about jerking off, but this is not what Legendary is. This is still within the first couple of years of him trying to get his footing and figure out who he is as an actor and what he's trying to do, but putting him with Danny Glover, who, I'm sure he learned something from Danny Glover, even though Danny Glover is like in the movie for less than 10 minutes of screen time. So I thought that was pretty interesting. On top of that, just overall, this performance by John, I mean, I would like to see more dramatic roles from Cena, but he's found his place as a comedic actor. Yeah, so to summarize the movie, if you haven't seen it, if you're listening to this, you probably haven't. Who's out here besides me going out of their way to watch Legendary? But if you're interested, it's free on Tubi, the free streaming service. So check it out if you want. I mean, this movie's not going to change anything about how you see John Cena as an actor or a wrestler. I mean, this movie is not essential for you to watch at all. But hey, you got John Cena being this brother, who's like abandoned his family. You got the main character, Cal, and he's a kid that he lost his dad. His brother's not around. He's just being raised by his mom. He's having a hard time connecting. But yeah, he just one day realizes maybe I want to connect with my brother, and maybe I want to get into wrestling. So he starts seeking out his brother. He starts trying out for the wrestling team. John Cena, he plays Mike, who's he's a retired, not retired. He's not retired. He's a former All-American amateur wrestler, one of the best in the state of Oklahoma. This movie starts off with Danny Glover talking about Oklahoma and the Sooners. But yeah, he just plays a guy that's, ever since the passing of his father, and John Cena, his character Mike, really knew his father very well. The character Cal, the younger brother that's seeking out John, didn't know his father. I think he was too young to even remember him. So yeah, there's just random moments in this movie of them trying to connect. John Cena's just this guy that, just drinking all the time. The first time we're introduced to his character, he's getting fired from his, construction welding job. And he, next time we see him, he's just drinking beer in the middle of the day, probably 10 a.m. And he lives in a trailer park, white trash trailer park with his white trash girl that he has. John Cena has like a revolving door of girls coming in throughout this movie. So yeah, John Cena's just this scumbag brother that doesn't care and is trying to stay away from the family. He's one of those like, you don't want to be around me, trouble follows me kind of characters, drinking a warm beer at 10 a.m. kind of guys. So that's who he's playing in this movie. But eventually, as this movie does, as any kind of movie like this, eventually Cena cracks and he, wants to help his brother out. It all happens because John Cena gets arrested for getting in a bar fight, and his brother just somehow gets all the way down to the courthouse when he's getting his deal, and basically pleads to the judge I got him, don't worry, I'll take care of him. Me and my brother, we're always there for each other. He's just lying his ass off to get the judge to play the pity card and get him out. So yeah, that was what really got the connection to start. And John Cena's like, all right, so what do you want? He's like, I don't want anything. I just want to connect. He's like, so you don't want me to teach you how to wrestle? He's like, yeah, I want you to teach me how to wrestle. So John Cena takes him to this empty-ass warehouse. He calls it the church. And you walk in here, you hear church bells and all that. They got church music in the background for this scene. And are we supposed to believe that John Cena just decided to get this warehouse spot, put a giant wrestling mat and a bunch of weights around? Because no one else shows up in this church. This is just him. There's not like a wrestling team nearby. There's no one. It's just John Cena. Is it to be, assume that his dad and John did this back in the day and I guess somehow no one's ever closed down this warehouse. I don't know. It's weird. But yeah, it's one of those feel good family moments. It has a message about just struggling, and no matter what, family's there for you, and don't give up on your family, don't give up on your goals. This movie is nothing special, but if you're trying to watch all of John Cena's movies, this isn't the worst that you could be watching. I feel there are other things that I'd imagine are going to be way worse as I get through the John Cena catalog. But honestly, this was not bad as people are making out to be, but it's not like great. Some of the acting's a bit weird. I think if most of this can be critiqued, is just overall the acting. The kid that's playing the main character, he's not bad, honestly. I think the character that plays his love interest, Lulu, she's a little off. I mean, she's supposed to be a little off, but not in a way that like I cared for. It was just like, meh, okay. And yeah, there's not much to say about this movie. I mean, it's just one of those feel good Hallmark movie classics, straight to DVD, straight to streaming kind of movies where if you just, I don't know who to recommend this movie to. If you're an amateur wrestler, like maybe you watch it. If you just love John Cena and you want to give it a try, why not? But there's not much to go off of. John Cena is in a good amount of the movie, not as much. I'd say he gets like 20, 25 minutes airtime throughout the entire movie, maybe 30 if anything. The movie's only an hour and 47 minutes, so that's not too bad. But yeah, John, I think, is okay as an actor in this. I know when I'm trying to do these, episodes talking about the filmography of John, we need to talk about where he's come from. So obviously, WWE acting, totally different. But then, we saw him in Marine. I thought that was great for him for his first showing, for just action and really like compelling the fact that he wants his wife and wants to save her. And he's down on his luck in the beginning because he's leaving the military. Then we get to 12 rounds. It's basically a copy and paste, but with a little more emotion. And then this one, there's no funny elements of John Cena's character. He's just a guy, He's just a dude. He's down on his luck, feeling bad for himself, feeling sorry that his dad passed away, and there's not much to it besides that. So he eventually turns around, like I said, and he's more cheerful for his brother and trying to be there for him. But that's kind of it. That's really the performance. I try my best to look up things about this movie because I like to find behind the scenes, see how this movie came about. There was not much I could find. There was basically nothing. And when you look up legendary John Cena, besides people trying to get you to watch the trailer or buy the movie, everything on the searching for legendary John Cena just talks about John Cena is about to embark on a legendary retirement tour. So I can't find much on this movie, but it didn't do well. It had a very, very limited U.S. Theatrical run. It was basically a straight to DVD WWE video home movie kind of deal. $5 million budget. They only got like 200 grand back from this. WWE lost so much money on this. It's eventually why WWE just started producing things and funding money to movies instead of actually making them on their own. But yeah, not much can be said about this movie besides, hey, if you're interested, check it out. But I think you're better off without it, unless you're trying to do what I'm doing, watching everything John Cena's ever been in. Then yeah. If not, that's really all I can say. Okay, so that was my review on Legendary 2010. Man, I have nothing really to say about this movie. But we had to get an episode out. So, a little short one. I might try and do a little something on YouTube about this movie. I might try and take some clips and react to it. Because I had some, there's some funny moments in this movie. That's maybe something I'll add to it. There are some moments, obviously not intending to be funny, a little bit more serious, but there were some moments where I was like, what the hell's going on here? So there might be a YouTube React kind of deal coming out in the near future on this movie, so I could add a little bit more substance out there for the content when it comes here. Anywho, so if you're listening to this movie, to this review, it's either, if you're listening the day of, it's Friday afternoon because I waited a little longer to make this come out. But thanks again for just checking out. You're not going to get too much substance out of this episode, but I appreciate you still listening. As always, we're on social media at WrestleCinema. That's on TikTok, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. We're all over the place. Trying to get some more stuff out. We're looking to be bi-weekly. That's my best bet at trying to be consistent with it all. But if you follow the TikTok, the Instagram, there will be more content on there on a daily to every other day kind of basis. The next podcast episode should be out in 2 weeks, and I'm trying to figure out what we're going to do. I don't know yet, but it's not going to be a John Cena movie. It is going to be something else. We are going to continue the filmography of John Cena. We're going to try and go in chronological order, but I'm thinking of doing something else. It might not be a John Cena movie. I might just try something that I'm interested in. I haven't seen because I've seen so many of his movies. But we'll see what happens. Stay tuned to the Instagram, the TikTok, and you'll learn what's going on. Instagram will be your best place for updates on what we're doing next. So yeah, thanks again for anyone watching, listening. More content soon. Peace.